Every time I try to create a pivot table in Excel, I get the same error. I take here the date and input into rows. However, Excel doesn't group the dates by months, years. Instead, Excel shows the dates separately, row by row, one by one. But why is that? I need to group the dates by months, years, and etc. How can I solve this problem? So I have here three different examples, three different data sets. The first one, the second one, and the third one. In each of those different data sets, I have a different problem that needs to be solved in order to group dates within the pivot table by months, years, quarters, and etc. So let's solve this problem. Let me get rid of this pivot table that I created here. Okay. And let me go to the first example. In this first example, I have on column B all the informations that I need to use, all the dates. But why Excel doesn't allow me to group those dates? Let's check. First of all, I can see something is off, right? Tell me, what is this date? 46/0/23. It's look like it's making no sense, right? So let me try to create a pivot table from this first data set and we can check whether it's going to work or not. So insert, pivot table, and then okay. Excel create a new blank pivot table. And if I go all the way to the right, I can take date as my criteria, click, hold, and drag within columns. Okay, maybe it's not working because Excel is only showing me the information itself, the column itself, the date. So as we can notice right here, Excel is showing the dates separately, row by row. However, I need to group those dates. But why it's not working? Because in this first example, the format is wrong. So very simple, guys. Just that, the format. When you click on a cell in Excel and then you go to Home tab, you can see through this panel right here or this dialog, all the options that you have to format the cell itself. We have general, number, occurrence, account, short date, long date, time, percentage, etc., etc. In order to Excel recognize the date as a date, we need to have a short date or, of course, a long date. However, in this case, I'm going to use short date. Click on this option. And okay, now we can see the date clearly. January 1st of 2026. It doesn't matter the date you are using. The thing that matters is the step by step, okay? Let me select everything. Click on column B to select all those rows. Home tab. And instead of use general, I'm going to short date. That's it. This solution might help us. But before we proceed to create the new pivot table, let me get rid of the previous pivot table, the entire sheet, okay? The entire sheet. Right click, delete, okay? And now with this data set that we properly format, we can go again to insert pivot table and then okay, to create a brand new pivot table. And all the way here to the right, I can take again date, click, hold, and drag and drop within rows. Okay, now it's working. Excel already grouped those dates by months and also by days and by date. And in this case, Excel doesn't group the dates by the years because I don't have enough different years within my data set. I only have 2026. So in order to have different years or to group the dates by years, you need to have multiple years. And in the same case, knowing that the same thing applies to the months. In order to have many different months, January, February, March, April, and so on, you need to have different months within the data set. Now, if we click on the plus sign, we can open January and then we can open again the dates itself and that's it. Perfect. And if you prefer, you can go back to the pivot table fields, click on the date, get rid of, and remove also the days. Now you can keep only the months. And as we can notice right here, January, February, there's no more plus sign to expand the view. However, we have the months, the information that we are looking for. And I can take all the other information right here, let's say quantity, click, hold, and drag, and drop within values. That Excel is going to group those information by the months. So it's working. Now, if we move on to the second example, let's see what I have right here. Because at a glance, everything seems right, everything seems correct. So why is that? Where is the error? So let me try something here. If I insert a pivot table and then click OK, let's see whether it's going to work. Let me go all the way to the right, date, click, hold and drag and drop within rows. Okay, no, it's not working. Excel is, again, show the dates separately. It's not grouping the dates by month, by year, and etc. But why is that? I can't find the error. For me, everything is perfect. Everything's fine right here. So I want to show you a very quick tip to solve this problem. Select all the data set that you have, click, hold, and drag all the way to the right to select actually everything. Now we can go to the Home tab and apply some filters. Sort and filter, and then filter. So now with the filters, we can click on the date. And as we can see, the filter is very clever. It's grouped the dates by each years, each months, and etc. However, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we can see some dates that are not grouped. But why is that? Because maybe we have a typing error, or maybe something is off. Something is off with those dates. This is why they are not being grouped. And see, the filter is more intelligent than the pivot table itself, because pivot table cannot even group the correct dates. It's not going to group anything. If you have one little mistake, the pivot table is not going to work. However, the filter works, so you can separate which the dates correctly and the ones that has a typing error. Let me uncheck all the correct dates that are within the 2026 year and keep only with the errors. Now I can go to OK, and here we have those errors. But what is wrong right here? Maybe we have an extra space, maybe we have an extra digit, let's say, or maybe we have something else. So my idea here is to make sure everything's fine. Let me double click in the first cell, 1, 2, and try to find and figure out the error. Let me select everything, and I actually find the error. As we can see here, at the at the start, we have some extra space. So we can select, get rid of, delete, enter. Now we can move on to the second one, see if we have any extra space, click, hold, and drag, delete, enter. And how do you know if it's working? You can go again to the filter, and if we scroll all the way down, those days that we work at all, they are not appearing here anymore, so it's working. Let me go to the third one and see if there's any mistake to the last one. And okay, I think we're done. Let me click on the filter again. Let me clear the filter, go again to the filter. And okay, now everything is being grouped by year, month, and etc. Now let me go to insert, pivot table, okay. And now Excel might give us a positive result. Date, click, hold, and drag within rows. And yeah, that's it. Now we have months, days, and date. Everything is working. January, February, March, April, etc., etc., etc. Let me go to the last example, where we again cannot properly create a pivot table in Excel because there's something off within those dates. However, I don't know which wrong, so let's check. Let me go to Insert, Pivot Table, New Worksheet, okay. Let me take date, click, hold, and drag within rows. And again, the same boring problem, the same annoying problem. We have here the dates. Maybe this one here has a extra space, as I can see, but I don't think there is any other mistake. Let me go back to the sheet. Let me try to apply the same technique. Select everything, and then insert or home tab, sort and filter, and let me filter the date. Okay, guys, I can see I have January, and yeah, there's one date here within the January. So let me select only this date. We have a couple of dates, 1, 2, to select everything. Let me remove the extra space from the first date, enter. Let's check if the second one has the same problem. No, it doesn't. And also the third one. Okay, the third one is also fine. Let me remove the filter. And I think now we're good. There's nothing here anymore that seems like a typing error. Let me go to data, just make sure I refresh all data. That's it. And insert a new pivot table from this new updated data set. Let me go to OK. Take the date, click, hold, and drag within rows. And again, the same problem. Excel is not grouping the dates together because, guys, in this case, I only have January as the date. So this is why. Remember what I said earlier? You need to have, if you want to group dates by months, you need to have different months. If you want to group by years, you need to have different years. And here we have this exactly problem. I don't have different months. So this is why Excel is not grouping them by months. If I go back to the data set, that is the sheet number 3, and now let me include a new row or even a new date, maybe right here, let's say February 1st of 2026 and March 1st of 2026, and then April 1st of 2026. Okay, we have a couple of different dates right here with different months. And if we go to insert again and create a pivot table, does it going to work? I don't know, let's check. Okay, let me take here date, click, hold, and drag within rows. No, it's not working yet. It's not working. Why is that? Because we maybe actually need to update the data set before we create a new pivot table. Maybe this is the problem right now. We already make sure now we have different months, right? So let me update the data set. Data, refresh all, refresh all. This allow Excel to refresh the entire spreadsheet, the entire file. Refresh all. Okay, if we go back to the data set and again insert a pivot table, we can even use a existing worksheet, up arrow, and then again to the previous pivot table. We can skip one column and go to the third one, down arrow, and then okay. Let me include here the date again. Okay, now everything's working. For some reason, the previous pivot table now is already working. So that's it, guys. This is how we can solve a very annoying error in Excel when we are working with dates and pivot tables. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or any suggestions to the next videos, let me know, comment down below, and I see you in the next one.